So today I felt like I was Steve Irwin without the stingray. Uh, so
Oh my
Oh,
god!
you can't say that. Wait,
What?
wait a minute.
do I gotta do we gotta
Fired.
do we gotta
No.
redo that?
No, keep it
No,
keep it
no.
going.
You've already
Alright.
had to redo it once. Go.
So it was like 4 o'clock. My wife gets home usually around then with my son, and she's like, "There's a beaver in the driveway." I'm like, "What?" So I go upstairs. I look in the driveway. It's a woodchuck, right? I'm like, "All right, well, go on, get out of here, woodchuck, get out, get out." And it doesn't
Because it
go
knows
away.
English, right?
It's I speak to animals frequently. It goes in like this
Wild
crevice I have.
thornberries over here.
Oh man, OG. This is wild. Like this, there's this little crevice that my trash goes. We just got a new bed, so there's a king bed in there. It's just this trash heap. It's that is you can't if you don't see it, you know no one's gonna know. I'm gonna live in a dump. But anyway, pretty much like it goes in this like crevice. I'm like, all right, move all the trash out, and it's sitting there. It's frightened to death. I don't know if it's vicious or
They're
not.
big too.
Yeah,
They
they're
can get
little-
really
They're a lot
big, yeah.
bigger than I think they were.
And I got a 4-year-old. Like some of us have kids right now, and my 4-year-old's like, I have no sense of danger. If it moves, I'm gonna try to pick it up and run and get it. And he's like running, like, get back. And my dog is like, I'll eat anything. And I'm holding back. And so my wife opens the garage to like our garage door. She opens up to move her car in, and there's like a storm window. It goes in the storm window, like it's trying to get in the house. I'm like got a bat with me. I'm like, get away! And it pops up. It runs in our garage, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness! And the car's in there. I'm forgetting to get in the car. I pull out the garage. I don't know what this thing is. This thing is like the Houdini of groundhogs. And I'm just moving. I got a pool here. I'm moving that thing all while my son's like, it's a beaver. It's a beaver. I got a beaver. That's so cool.
Your
And I'm
family
like,
needs to learn animal names. Goodness.
oh, we're at a Noah's Ark right now. We got a caterpillar. We got a beta fish. We had mice in our car. It's just like craziness.
Mice in your car. Wow. Okay. I have
yeah.
a beta fish. I know how that is. That's pretty
Yeah.
easy.
Anyway, I move all this pool stuff out of my garage, and there it is. It's just like huddled in a corner, and I'm banging the bat, trying to get it away. And finally, this thing like slowly moves. It's like not. I don't know if it's like afraid of me. I don't know what it's gonna do. I've got no shoes on, by the way. Just I'm in my bare feet. I'm just like, and this thing, and I kid you not, runs like bolts towards me, and I scream. I'm like, what? Just go away. And it's just trying to run by me. But I thought it was gonna get me. I thought like this is where I die. I'm gonna be in heaven. And God's like, yep, groundhog. I planned it from day one.
Before the
Oh, boy.
foundations of the earth, God had planned that Carlos was going to die by a groundhog.
Murked by a groundhog.
We had one in a gym that I used to work at sneak into our gym, and it was hiding under a pile of med balls. And one of our members went to go like grab one.
Oh.
She like walked over and she like picked it up, and there was just like groundhog like staring at her. And she was like, "Oh my god!" The
They
thing
seem
like
cute.
bolted around.
They seem cute, but man, you don't know. You know these
They're
creatures.
huge. They're really
They're
big.
huge. So anyway, that's how I cleaned out my garage today.
Wow,
That was
Wow.
fascinating.
that's
Yeah, the wild vermin's running around. I've been up a telephone pole before and had a squirrel run across my back to get down because it came after me. It like went towards me, realized I was there, and naturally, because it's a squirrel, decided, well, I'm just going to keep running at the thing that I'm scared of rather than running away. So it literally used me as like a springboard to get to the other side. I was
Wow.
screaming. I was 30 feet up in the air, roped off, going,
Oh yeah, no thanks.
I'm
No
going to
thanks to
fall
that.
and die.
it's just a squirrel.
But you're 30 feet in the air. You don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm 30 feet on the air with strand hooks on the coax strand. Like any little weird movement and that thing slides, and like that's it. That's my life all over.
Huh.
Yeah,
I guess
Squirrels are
that's a good point.
douchebags of the animal
I've
kingdom.
never had
they're the
run-in
worst.
with
Tree
animals.
rats are the worst.
They're just jerks. They're mean. They
Tree
eat
rats.
things. They just
I like squirrels.
I hate squirrels.
fall
they
out
keep
of
me
the
employed.
garden and then-
But
I
your
think
groundhog
chases are
stories,
all over the place.
your groundhog stories next level, Carlos. That's we
Next
all
level.
have a friend in college that killed a groundhog at the school. True story. With a shovel.
I took
Who?
a skunk out with a rock. Brother Ward got pissed. He still doesn't know it was
He's-
me. If you ever listen
Carlos,
to
he's
it,
related to
find
the
out.
same guy that killed the baby rabbits.
Oh, that's me.
No, no, no. Wait, did you do that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. We don't need to talk about
All
that.
right, all right, all right.
All right,
Hey,
let's.
Edith's like gonna be like, "Let's cancel." I know who this
Good.
know who this podcast is.
I thought that was
Cancel.
somebody else that did that, but that's okay.
No, that's me. Anyway.
On that note, this is the Under 500 podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back into the Under 500 podcast. I am Tyler, and I am joined by, well, I'll introduce him first because you heard his voice the most of the intro there.
Yeah, who is that guy?
Carlos is with us again for a very interesting conversation we're going to have today. But Carlos, how you doing, man? Other than being scared of groundhogs?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive.
It is. I agree. Eric, what's up, man?
Hanging in there, doing okay.
Good. Aaron?
I'm chilling, man. I
Oh.
don't have never had any interactions with animals like that, so I couldn't really empathize. I
You
almost
are
got
from
abducted
Scorpio.
by a human, but that was good.
What?
Yeah, we don't need to get into that.
I guess that's a
What?
different story for a different day. My
different
goodness.
story,
what?
different day. Yeah,
The blacklist.
it was at Camp Monadnock actually, but
Rip.
Lots of things.
It wasn't the staff of Camp Monadnock. Just to be
Jeez,
clear.
no wonder why that place is closed down now.
Oh gosh.
I shouldn't have said anything. All right. Well, anyways, moving on. Oh
So,
man. So
what do we got on taps for today, boys?
So we are going to devote the entire episode, at least most of the
a lot
episode,
of it,
to a lot of it. Might get to a couple things at the end too. Tyler, how are the storms out there, buddy? What's the weather report?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, dude. The sky looks terrifying right
It's gotten
now.
significantly darker behind.
Yeah, and it's still like the sun's still in the sky, and it's like it looks terrifying.
Is it like a purple hue or something like that?
No, it's
green
just,
hue.
It's just black and green, and it looks. And I'm not lying. It looks like tornado weather. So those of you watching, if I keep looking out this window, it's because I'm looking for a tornado hurling towards me.
So, guys, prayers for Tyler. Oh, if you're praying for Tyler now, it's too late.
It's
at
too
this
late.
point.
I could be dead.
This could be Tyler's like the last time you ever hear Tyler. So
Oh, man.
really cherish
On this podcast, yes.
Yeah.
This is the podcast to do it. If you're gonna go out by groundhog or storms, this
Yep.
is the time.
Yep.
This is the
Seriously.
place.
But anyways, we're gonna devote most of the episode to making our top 10 quarterback of all time list / fierce debate over who belongs in the top 10 quarterbacks of all time and everything that pertains to that. I am super excited for how this is going to go
Me too.
because I know that my logic is different than everybody else's and everybody else's is different than mine. And there's some objectivity to it. There's also some subjectivity to it. And the middle of that or how that all comes together might be a little spicy.
Yeah.
Might be a little spicy. So here's how I want to get started with this is I want to know you guys' logic for how you're going to pick your top 10. So if we just start rattling off names and whatever, we can do that. But I would want to know like what kind of thought process you go in. Is it like a chart and like, or one of those pie charts and like 70% is stats and 40 and 70 is 110. 20% is titles and however that works. Like what kind of logic or thought process do you take into picking your top 10? Are you going to pick or employ in picking your top 10?
Oh man, so you want like a formula for each of us?
I just want to know what your logic
All
is.
right.
It doesn't have to be a formula. It just has to be
I'll
like
just go, mine's easy and quick. I looked up a top 10 list and I was like, do I agree with this? And I read all the stuff and I said, you know what? I agree with this.
So Google. That's your
Google. I
reason.
searched it on Google.
I was just gonna say.
You gotta. That's right. We don't want to get a cease and desist thing from them.
Yeah.
Gotta watch how we.
and it's honestly like it wasn't just like I'm gonna search on Google the top 10 quarterbacks of all time, even though that's literally what I typed in. But like that's not what I'm basing everything off of because My top 10 quarterbacks that if I were to pick just off of the top of my head who I think are the best, they're all on the list of the many lists that I looked at, they're all on there. So I just basically kind of wanted to see if I was stupid, and I was gonna bring up 10 quarterbacks
like a barometer
that nobody. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really.
So your logic is ask the experts.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
For me, my list, obviously all of our lists, I think across the board are going to entail career achievements in them. Like that's going to be like rings, hardware, MVPs, like that obviously goes into the equation. Mine though probably is going to lean a little more towards the talent side as far as like some of the people I have on my list where yes, career achievements are important, but as far as like just how freaking physically and especially talented they are, that weighs probably a little heavier than maybe where, especially Eric, I know, because I know where you come from a little bit, which is fine. Like that's your reasoning, but I lean a little more towards the talent side. Like, okay, who has that skill set that puts them above and beyond everyone else? Because there's some quarterbacks who won a lot of rings and stuff, but they had great supporting casts. And honestly, if you remove them from a top 10 defense that they had and top 10 offensive line, they probably weren't going to do anything. So I don't know. That's where I kind of changed how I compiled this list. 'Cause I might have a couple names on here and rankings that you guys don't like, but I'm
already
talent,
just that logic already. I'm super excited. So yours is are they talented? Is it their God-given right to throw the football? Got it.
Yes, that again, not just that, but for me that weighs a little heavier than probably where you guys are.
Carlos?
Yeah, my logic is kind of taking notes from everyone else's logic here. So I won't say I did look at a top 10 list on Google because I did just to see what they said. My biggest factor was, what were their stats like? I mean, were they productive? Not necessarily that they have the highest stats. That's not always a key to success or means you're a good player. Were their stats good? But also, my main component was it's 2 minutes to go in the game. I'm down by a touchdown. Who do I want throwing the ball? All things being equal, same team, same receivers. Like, who do I want under center? That's how I picked it.
Sure.
Okay, so yours is a 2-minute drill. That's a good way to think.
Test.
So you guys know me, and you know how much thought I put into these type of things. So I've actually been thinking about this for a long time, and so just my logic was obviously the things are stats, talent, rings, Hall of Fame nods, that sort of stuff. I also want to be clear and say that they had to have been in the league for at least 10 years or more. I think that Pat Mahomes is the guy that comes to my head immediately, who I'm like tempted to put in my top 10 already because he's just so talented and so good, and like he's got all those intangible things that I want. But he just hasn't been in the league long enough. I just think he needs to be in the league a little bit more. Deep playoff runs, even if they don't have rings, I think that matters. I think it matters if you go into the playoffs and you bring your team quite a bit of the way.
I
and
agree.
If you finally hit somebody, if you hit Tom Brady because he's Tom Brady and you lose,
it's like the Michael Jordan effect. Like Charles Barkley, he could have gotten rings, but MJ was there,
right.
So you can't fault him for that.
Exactly
bad
right.
luck.
I said legacy and leadership as well because I think those are things. I also can't stand the, which is why already me and Aaron are going to disagree. The would have, should have. If so and so had been in the league today, he wouldn't have been as good, or so and so shouldn't have been as good as he was. However, because of the team he had around him, he was, or so and so should be much better than he. No, because the reality is, sorry, Andrew Luck, like you're a great player, but you got injured because you're on a bad team, so you don't make the list. But like. Yeah. There's just the realities of that. They did. And then this last one, which is intangibles. And let me just tell you this quick story, not related to football, and I promise I'll tie it in, but hear me out, because I've been dying to tell this story because it just blows me away. And I just think it really paints a picture of this the best way. So I turned on the TV like a month ago, and it was on NBC Sportsnet, which is usually where the Bruins play if they're on the TV, the local broadcast that I have, or one of the channels they usually are on. And they had some NASCAR thing on there, and you know me, I'm NASCAR, so I was watching a little bit. And it was some Dale Earnhardt Jr. podcast thing, and they were talking about his father, Dale Sr. And they were telling this story about how in 1996, Dale Sr. broke his collarbone and his sternum in a wreck at Talladega. So he can't take any pain meds for this, by the way, because he's racing a race car. So like he can't finish that race. Obviously, he wrecked out. But the next week, they're at Indianapolis and he starts the race, but he only races a few laps, gets out of the car. Someone else gets in and finishes for him. There's some NASCAR rules in there I won't get into, but he gets out and he's crying. This is Dale Earnhardt. Like at this point in his career, he's won 7 championships. He's a Daytona 500 winner. He's won everything he possibly can in that sport. And it's a meaningless race in Indianapolis. And he gets out of the car crying because he loves what he does. So he's that passionate about it. The following week is Watkins Glen, which you guys don't know what that racetrack is, but it's actually a racetrack, I'll have you know, where they turn right. It's a road course, and the trajectory of the track actually goes right, and it's left and right. And you know, there's pictures and video of drivers like they're using their foot for both the clutch and the brake and the gas at the same time, driving with their left hand and shifting with the right. You have to use all 4 of your phalanges, if you will. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but you have to use all 4 of them.
Usually what people use, but
limbs, that's it. So
phalanges are technically your fingers and toes, but
okay, which are never mind. So they're telling Dale, you can't take pain meds. You're going to be in excruciating pain. And by the way, if you wreck this car, that bone could break and go through your heart or lungs, and you're dead. And he convinces his owner. You know, his owner tells him, how can I tell Dale Earnhardt that he's going to be a detriment to my team by racing my race car? So he lets him go out there with a broken clavicle, or I'm sorry, a broken sternum and collarbone. He sets a track record at the toughest track on the circuit. And then he finishes 6th. Like, that's incredible. And here's why I tell you that, because he has 7 championships.
Top 10 quarterbacks.
No, but he's got 7 championships. Okay. So he's got 7 championships, but Richard Petty has 200 wins, which is way more than he had. And Jimmy Johnson has just as many and did it during a tougher time when all of the race car drivers were similar and like their cars are way more complex. But if I had to pick one of the 3, I would pick Dale Earnhardt because of those intangibles and those stories that you hear about him that just no one else has. And so I say that to explain this part, which is like, there are intangibles to some of these guys that might not line up to the stat line, that might not line up to the rings, that might not line up to all the little things that we can measure it, you know, apples to apples and apples to oranges, but they're just these intangibles that you can't describe, but you know when you see them. So I think that's one of the things that matters to me almost the most is like, if the game's down, like Carlos said, are you picking the guy that has the most accurate throw? Or are you picking the guy that just knows he's going to do it because he just is,
right?
You know, the Tom Brady, if you will. Like we could just go ahead and say that Brady, one, right? Like,
yeah,
like that's the guy. Like, we're all thinking it. And Patrick
he's the culmination of all of it.
He is. So I don't know who wants to go first. We have like a little chart that we were going to go through. So we were each going to do our top 10, and then we were going to try and put together a top 10. We'll all agree on it.
We're going to start. We all going to start at 10.
We always start at 10, count down to 1. Although I think 1, it's usually a climax to 1, but I don't really think 1's going to be all that climactic because I think we all know who 1 is going to be for all of us, and then what the final is. So it's really just 10 through 2 that's going to be interesting.
Is like, nah, got a wrench I'm about to chuck in there.
Oh boy, yeah, I'm excited. Aaron, you want to go first? Give us your first. 10.
So are we just gonna all go through 10 each, or just go through our whole list?
No, please, one at a time. We'll all get lost.
So mine is number 10. I have Patrick Mahomes, which I know you guys are like, how is he in your top 10? Initially, what I was gonna do is if he won the Super Bowl, I was ready to put him in top 5. I think we talked about that last season, but he didn't, so I can't put him in my top 5. So he's not in there. But I'm putting him in top 10 right now because I think he's probably the most gifted passer this league has ever seen. And his 3-year run that he's had is the best 3-year run of any quarterback in league history. And so you can't ignore that. Like no other quarterback has done what he's done in 3 years.
The best?
Yeah, I disagree with that.
The best,
I disagree.
run.
The best 3-year run. If you look at a 3-year run and what he's done.
1 Super Bowl.
Okay. An MVP. And second in MVP.
Yeah, I disagree.
Lamar Jackson was the MVP, so I mean.
Yeah, I was gonna say I disagree because there are other players in history that have had better runs in 3 years as far as
look at. But I'm saying if you look at his numbers over the past 3 years, like those are unmatched for yards, touchdowns, it's and quarterback rating. No one comes close to a 3-year run.
Okay,
like
so
that.
let me ask you this question: if he got injured in the first game of the season, he's done for his career. Will him being top 10 stand the test of time?
If he gets injured,
If he's injured, career-ending injury, day one of his team home opener, whatever his opening season,
right?
Drew Bledsoe-ish thing, but
Yeah.
just doesn't come back.
All right. So to be fair, that would change. I'm basing this because I'm assuming that he's going to have a longer career, and I think by the end of his career, if he stays healthy, he's going to be way higher than 10. He'll be easily top 5. So I'm going off of that assumption. I am like I'll be upfront.
I mean, it's fair. It's fair.
It's a fair assumption. I just think that's why you can't go
this year and was done for his career. Then yeah, I mean, I'd have to. He can't.
The only thing that I need to see from Pat Mahomes is how he operates in a team that is not like the best team to be on at the moment. What I mean by that is, on draft night, how do you think Pat Mahomes felt when the Bears like passed on him and he was drafted by Andy Reid? And honestly, he has a Hall of Fame coach.
If I were him, I'd be relieved.
Yeah, he has arguably the best tight end ever in football. Arguably, I don't think that. He has a literal cheetah in a human form, in Tyreek Hill, and he's had good positions, right? And the team is just built around his good skill sets, which is throwing the ball really far and running the ball 10 yards when everyone is man down the field. I don't hate that pick, but I just need to see more. I need to see what happens like in the 2019 Tom Brady season when he's throwing it to a guy at Subway and get to the playoffs anyway. So
let's see how he does when he doesn't have like an Hall of Famers all around his team. But I still think that's the should have, could have, whatever thing, because like I don't know, that's the talent he has. So if that elevates him, then that's how it is. Like we can't rewrite history.
Yeah, and he can't. I mean, he can't. Like, that's not his fault that he got a stacked team. Like, it's like he's gonna go out there and play.
Let's keep going though. Tyler, you want to go?
My number 10.
You wanted? Yeah.
Can I just give a quick honorable mention?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, Brett Favre is my honorable mention, and I'll tell you why. Really quick.
I'm fine with an honorable mention.
Brett Favre is an honorable mention, in my opinion, for the lone reason that he has thrown the most interceptions of any quarterback ever. If that stat wasn't on his list, even if he was number two in most interceptions of all time, he would be number 10, and if it was fewer, he'd be climbing up. But I cannot put somebody.
I can't either. That's why he's not in mine.
I cannot put somebody.
Oh, don't spoil it yet.
Who has the most interceptions of any quarterback of all time in a top 10 quarterback list? I just can't do it.
You're baiting me. You're baiting me right now, and I'm not.
Throw that bait. Chum in the water.
No,
who's your number 10?
My number 10 is going to be. Why do I forget his name?
And this is where Tyler blanks out.
This is super embarrassing. Drew Brees. There we go. Drew Brees is number 10. He's 6'0" nothing.
It's true.
In a position that you need to be like 6'2" to 6'5". And he showed up in New Orleans, got him a Super Bowl, and 66,000 as of what's his all time. He's up there on the list with stats.
Yeah, he's number 1 for passing yards.
Passing yards.
Number 2 to touchdowns.
I'm actually relieved that you didn't put him higher.
You're what?
I'm actually relieved you didn't put him higher.
Well, okay, cool. I'm glad. I'm glad you're relieved.
You relieved,
Eric. I don't know
Eric.
what to say.
So
I am, because I know someone else has probably got him like 3 all time because he knows he has a bunch of yards.
No, I don't have him in my top 3.
So if
throw shade all you want, Eric.
But the lone fact that he's got the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl victory, puts him at number 10 for me. Just because he's a great passer. He's an accurate passer, or he was because he's retiring. But he's an accurate.
One of the most
passer.
accurate in league history.
Yeah. So I mean, and that puts him in there, and he's a pure passer. And frankly, he showed up in the perfect system for that. they inflate passer game, a passer.
And in an arena indoor, which helps you out.
It was just perfect for his career. He shouldn't have played for anybody. Who did he get drafted by? The Chargers?
Chargers.
San Diego. Yeah,
Yep.
the Chargers. Yep. And then they said,
Well,
boy.
he tore his shoulder up,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh, he's not going to come back." And talk about a whiff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
Talk about a franchise that whiffs.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But I mean, but like, I honestly don't even know if he would have done that well in San Diego if he stayed there.
He had a Pro Bowl
were they-
season in
yeah.
San Diego before he blew his shoulder out.
Let's keep
but yeah,
going,
no,
though.
he wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah. So that's my number 10.
Carlos, you want to go? You want me to go?
Yeah, my number 10 is a player who I love. I'm sad he's gone. He was a fantasy beast back in the day. He still is somewhat, or was somewhat. My number 10 is Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers.
Ooh, Eric's pissed.
Fine. That's fine. Phillip Rivers has great stats, over 60,000 yards, over 400 touchdowns thrown. He is a leader of men, and he was clutch on, honestly, San Diego teams that, besides LaDainian and Tomlinson, for like a couple of years there, what was spectacular about them?
Yeah, clutch and Phillip Rivers are never things I've seen in the same sentence without the word "not" in between.
Well, that's your opinion. He was muddy
Very
sometimes.
direct.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes.
it
You know, in a
goes-
meaningless game where it didn't matter anymore, and
he
they
he had
weren't
the
going to make it to the
unfortunate-
playoffs. He could come back. Woo!
If you're gonna say Charles Barkley's really good, but he had Michael Jordan, you have to give Phillip Rivers the same treatment he was in with Tom Brady and the Patriots. So
Yeah, because they made it to every Super Bowl every year that Phillip Rivers was in the league. Got it.
he made multiple playoff runs. So I mean, I'm just saying, like Phillip Rivers has over 60,000 yards and stats.
Eric, you hate Phillip Rivers.
I'm just
Okay,
he's a leader of
much.
men, yeah,
No.
because he's got a family of 40. Like, wow.
Eric, your opinion on Phillip Rivers is mute because you said you'd rather have Andy Dalton than Phillip
Yep.
Rivers.
Yeah, I would
wasn't
take
me.
Phillip. I'd take
Out on that guy.
I would take Phillip Rivers' leg over Andy Dalton. So
Yeah, I'm Phillip over Andy all day. That's
Yeah,
that's
nope.
easy.
That's an interesting pick, and I can disagree with him
All
more.
right, so
but,
what's yours, Eric? What's your pick?
I put Brett Favre as number 10. I realized that
I'm okay with that.
the
He shouldn't be any
interception.
higher.
Yeah, that's why he's the only guy that win 3 consecutive MVPs in a year. Like, I thought that was
Really?
interesting. Yeah,
He won 3 MVPs in 1 year.
I'm sorry, 3 years in a row. I'm an idiot.
Oh,
Really?
That's what I meant to
I
say.
was like,
Yeah,
they do it
I'm
differently
sorry.
back then.
He won 3 straight MVPs and he has 297 consecutive starts. And as far as the stats go, like I understand the whole interception thing, but I was pulling up he has 336 interceptions, which is the most all time, right? Like
By a
Yes.
lot.
by a lot. But if I look at Drew Brees real quick, just humor me for this. Drew Brees has 243, so I guess 100 less, but that's still kind of high, isn't it? Like 243. Like what's the ratio there to Brett Favre? Like I don't know. 336 is a lot, which is why I'm putting him
You
at.
also have to look.
10.
You have to look at passes thrown too, because I think Breeze is throwing a lot more passes than Favre.
You're
has.
probably right.
Let's go
I
with
just-
a completion percentage, which I think is your overall accuracy.
Yeah.
Would be Drew Brees at a 70% even, and Brett Favre is at a 62.
Yeah. So okay, fine. I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with any of that. I do think though that like when we talk about gunslingers, like when that was kind of the big phrase with quarterbacks, that's the guy you think of. Like he was one of those guys of the 90s that just threw the ball. And I sometimes think that decision making, I think that's one of the things that's improved since he was playing in the league, like at his best, was that decision making. Like you don't just have to. A lot of people criticize Drew Bledsoe too. Just throw it and then hope to God that it lands in the right spot. Whereas, now you see him more like protecting that by throwing the ball away. You don't have to throw it inbounds and hope someone catches it because then bad things happen. You can throw it away and go for 3rd down or 4th down if you need to, or just punt the ball and, when the game's in hand. But I do think he has 3 MVPs. He's a Hall of Famer. He's got a lot of great stats. He's got a championship. He's got all those things
he
that.
got 2 championships. He's
No,
got 2 rings. He's got 2 rings.
Favre has one.
He has 2 rings.
You want to explain?
He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. I don't know. How do I explain that?
What do you mean? How?
Was he the starter for both?
I have no idea. I just know he has 2.
He has 1
He
ring.
has. He has
He
one.
appeared in 2. He won
Yeah.
1 and lost the other.
Oh, maybe I got that wrong. Maybe I
Yeah,
got
he
that
only
wrong.
has
My bad.
one.
I was just to say,
Hey, listen,
gonna say.
I'm man. I'm a person. I'm mortal. I'm
So
not
Breeze
Jesus.
has thrown over 400 more passes than Favre has. I just did the math.
okay, that's fair. I wasn't really going anywhere with that. I just saw those
I
two
just
things
was
when I was
curious.
going through this
We
and
need to
went,
save this
wow.
Favre talk. I'm just saying, just save the Favre talk.
I'm just putting him as my number 10. That's where I got him. I think
Okay.
he deserves
Alright.
a top 10 nod. Aaron, back to you, number
Top
9.
number 9.
Did we get
Kurt
Carlos's top
Warner.
10?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay.
I have Kurt Warner as number 9.
Oh,
Okay, that's your boy. All right.
Because Kurt Warner's, I grew up like I loved the Rams, especially the Greatest Show on Turf. With watching him play when they had like that offense, like the dude was just absolute money. Like he could do pretty much no wrong. Then they traded him because he was getting older. They traded him to the Giants, and then he was just a placeholder for Eli. But then he goes to the Cardinals, and he's the kind of guy where he did have like slumps in his career, but when he had like when you put pieces around him, like you saw he brought the Cardinals to a Super Bowl. Like they had no business going to that game. But when you put talent around him, he's one of the best to play when he has a supporting cast around him. That's why I can't put him higher. But I think when he has a crew around him and you watch him play, it's I don't know. Like that's why he's in my top 10. That's why I put him at number 9. He was just
That's
good
fair.
throughout his whole career.
He never crossed my mind, but not really because
And he's
I
in the Hall
don't
of
think
Fame.
he's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good pick, Tyler. I don't really have anything to argue on that one, truthfully.
number 9, and my number 9 is Otto Graham. You ever heard of Otto Graham?
Yes.
Yes.
Otto Graham. So he's got 23,584 yards, 55.8 completion percentage, 9 yards per attempt, 174 touchdowns, 86.6 lifetime passer rating, 3-time ring Super Bowl winner, and he was the 3-time UPI NFL MVP, and he was a 5-time Pro Bowler. So if you want to talk about people that played in the early days of the NFL, that just absolutely were top tier of that time, Otto Graham is the top for quarterbacks. What?
There's another name. There's another name out there that I think is a little bit more known, but he's one of them.
Okay, but I mean, he just talking about sheer decorated quarterbacks. Otto Graham belongs on the list for that reason alone. That he is one of the most decorated quarterbacks in league history.
And he was like a trendsetter, right? Like those first quarterbacks might not have like the crazy stats that Drew Brees has, but they were doing something, I wouldn't say uncomparable, but like sustainable in the league and today's standards back when, they still had leather on their head and the goalposts were in the front part of the end zone, which is totally stupid. What were they doing?
Right.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like that never made any sense to me. It's like an extra defender when you're trying to run the ball in the end zone. It's like what the heck? So many guys would run into it too. I don't know. I don't get it.
But the other kicker for Graham for me is he led the Browns to the championship game for 10 years in a row.
Dang.
10 years in a row.
That is ridiculous.
And guess how many he won of those 10?
10.
7.
Oh, dang.
That's good.
70% in championship games.
That's Brady's numbers.
So he has the record for 9 yards per attempt. And I don't know if...
His career?
Yeah, career, 9 yards per attempt.
That's crazy.
So, that means like pretty much every pass was a bomb.
Every second down was a second and one.
The dude had an arm. The dude, he could toss the ball. And I honestly don't know of anybody in the modern era that could even touch that.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
a
know.
lot.
I don't even know last year who the leader was. I have to look at you. Keep talking. I'm going to look that up.
Carlos?
Well, that's
or Tyler, do you have more?
No, that's the end of it.
Okay. Carlos?
Fellas, my number 9 is a player who, if you just did his rushing stats alone, he'd be a all-pro running back. My number 9 is booty scooting Cam Newton.
What?
What? Yeah. So it's interesting that Aaron's number 9 was Kurt Warner. Cam Newton's passing stats are very comparable to Kurt Warner's. He also has rushed for over 5,000 yards, over 70, I believe, rushing touchdowns. That's rushing yards and
Yeah,
rushing
great. He should be a
touchdowns.
running back. Yeah, we should put him in the top 10 running
He
backs.
has over 30,000 yards passing. He has over 200 touchdowns for, and he he is he is an incredible, probably the most athletic, if not the most athletic quarterback to play the position. He is money, not right now. I mean, this is not right now. I'm not saying like right now he's recovering. He might, it's like Peyton
No,
Manning in his
this
glory
last
days.
season come out of any conversation even remotely close to this.
Yeah, I would
Forever.
agree.
No,
I
no,
think
no, you can't do that because then Peyton Manning would be the same thing because
That's
the
fair.
last 2
That's
years
fair.
he is a noodle of an arm. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't
Okay,
take
so-
that
He,
last
but
year.
he
My-
wasn't nearly as bad as Cam Newton was, though.
My
Like
problem.
Cam Newton's year this year was
I'm
horrible.
just saying that Cam Newton, when you look at the bulk of his work, who he is as a player, he's in the top 10. He is one of the, if not, I think he is the most dynamic athlete at quarterback that's ever played. Like, he can, but not only that, but he can throw the ball. He could throw the ball. He used to throw the ball, but now he's broken his shoulder or whatever.
I just don't know about his intangibles. Like the thing that people remember the most about Cam Newton isn't his MVP years, the fact that he wouldn't drop on the football, or
I
the fact that he
remember-
called out a woman reporter in the most misogynistic way on the planet. It was so uncomfortable. Every time I hear the interview, I get uncomfortable. Like
Top
he
10
has no
quarterback
intangibles.
Isn't a morality contest.
No, it's not
Also-
a morality. It's intangibles.
In
Like
Peyton Manning's second to last season, he threw for 4,700 yards and 39 touchdowns.
That's second to
So,
last.
Yeah, you said his last 2 seasons. His last season was bad. It was.
okay.
I'm
But
not even front.
what I am saying is that Cam Newton, it's not just stats, it's not just championships, it's not just it is what they brought to the game, how they changed the game, and also to just if I want a quarterback, all things being equal, Cam Newton's in my top 10. It's just that simple.
I don't know. By your own metric, if there's 2 minutes down in the game and I need somebody to win, I could easily pick 10 other quarterbacks that I'd rather have. Because if something bad happens,
that's
that guy's gonna quit.
But that's just one thing, though. I'm just saying, like that's like one scenario
That's the metric you said you were rating your
It-
list by.
There's more other things. Like I couldn't go on for like 12 minutes about how I look at stats. I look at leadership and things of that nature. It's Cam Newton. We just went on for Kurt. We didn't have any arguments against Kurt Warner, and Cam Newton has just as much stats as Kurt Warner. And I mean, I'm not saying that Cam Newton is the best quarterback or it's not a subjective pick. What I'm saying is that Cam Newton has stats. He has leadership. Yes, he is passionate.
Does
yes,
he have leadership?
If he has leadership, he might
He
now that he
is-
can't throw a
Oh,
football.
he
is-
has leadership.
Now
He's loved by players. He might see like again like there's
being
things to
loved by
fall-
players and being a leader of men is not the same thing.
He is a leader of men because
is.
it's not that he just loves it. People follow him. People believe in him. I'm not saying Cam Newton is the best leader. I'm not saying Cam Newton shouldn't have gone for that fumble. What I'm saying is that Cam Newton, if you look at the stats, you look at the career, what he brought to the game, the dynamic athlete that he is, he's in the top 10. Be lucky I didn't put Michael Vick because I wanted to.
I did too,
Yeah.
but then I knew for a fact I'd get ripped apart. so I
Aaron
didn't.
might actually explode in half.
And Michael Vick can't throw. Like he can run well, but he couldn't throw. He had one
Okay,
good
well-
one good throwing year in Philadelphia. That was it.
Well, can we go back to reality now?
I thought my Mahomes pick would be the most
You're-
controversial.
Definitely not anymore. Number 9 for me is Roger Staubach. That's who I picked as my number 9. I just again 2-time Super Bowl championship, Super Bowl MVP, 6-time Pro Bowler. He's just one of those iconic names. Like I did a little reading on him. Listen to this. Losing out on those 4 seasons while he served in the Navy. So he only played for like 10 years, but he missed 4 years, like I think at the beginning, because he served in Vietnam. So like that's super cool. Can you imagine what he would look at, or if he had played for like 15 years or 14 years rather than just 10? But he led the NFL in passer rating each of his final 3 seasons and made the Pro Bowl in each of those years. Staubach led a ferocious comeback in his final regular season game, throwing 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes and change to beat the Redskins and win the NFC East. He didn't merely end with a flourish either. In Staubach's final full season as a starter, he went 13-0, won the Super Bowl, and finished with 104.8 passer rating, the loftiest mark of the 1970s. So the year that he decided that he's all done was the best year of a quarterback in the 1970s. Like I just think those are the things that stand out to
The
me.
intangibles.
Not even just the intangibles, but like, all right, I've done the best I can. I'm done. Like I'm gonna stop on top. And
I can't be mad at Staubach. Staubach being number 8 or 9
number
for you.
9.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron. Number 8.
Johnny U.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Nice.
I know
Okay.
this kind of goes against like my argument, but of like talent, but I think he's was the most talented passer of his era by far. I mean, he grew up in an era and played in an era where it was run dominated, and he threw for over 40,000 yards and almost 300 touchdowns. He revolutionized the passing game to kind of get it to where it is now, because of how he would throw the ball. And so because he was so far ahead of the other quarterbacks of his time that he can't not be in the top 10.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the few guys in that era who I think could, if he was transplanted into our current age, he may not be like an Aaron Rodgers level, but I think he could still play. I really think he could, because of what he was able to do in that era. And so I don't know. You gotta put respect on that dude's name. So that's why I put him at number 8. And to appease you a little, Eric. So.
I'm gonna save my Johnny Unitas stock for a little bit. That's all I'll say.
But he's an older school player, but he should be in top 10. There's no doubt about
I feel loved, Aaron.
it. Good.
Tyler?
My number 8 is Eric's number 9, Roger Staubach. And I mean, you kind of explained a lot of his stuff, but I mean, just the fact, I read this stat earlier, he had 23 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter. He was the, I think somebody coined him the captain.
Yeah, that was his nickname.
Yeah,
Captain Comeback. And I think that's fantastic. He had a relatively low passer rating, or what was it? He had a 3.7 interception percentage and a relatively low completion percentage. And obviously those can't be ignored, but what he lacked in accuracy, he more than made up for in exciting clutch play. And he just had a legacy of being a winner. And that's why I put him at number 8.
Carlos?
Look at that.
My number 8 is a quarterback we all love to hate on. My number 8 quarterback is Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not.
Aaron Rodgers is a dynamic player.
I agree.
He is a great QB. He is a leader of men, a different leadership style for sure. More like
kind of
be a jerk face to everyone, but hey, you know, that is a leader way, I suppose. I think that in his prime years, he's still kind of in his prime, but like when he was peak Aaron Rodgers, number 1 QB in the league, like he's the QB that the TV effect, right? When the TV's on the quarterback, he goes back, he throws the football. I just think someone's gonna catch something. Like it's just gonna be a long bomb. Like I just know it's gonna happen. It's like with Pat Mahomes right now. He does, if he goes back and bombs it, and if the player is off the street,
scared. You're like, it's completed.
Yeah, if you're facing him, you go, oh
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Tom Brady,
15 yards or 50 yards.
I felt that with Tom Brady for a long time too, when he was my QB. But now it's Cam Newton. Now I just hope that no one intercepts the ball. But still, I mean, all things being equal. Anyway, but Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately, I don't know if it's just he has had a bad situation. He won a Super Bowl. I don't know. I just can't put him in the top 5. I understand like he has lots of great things about him, but just for me personally, there's just too much question marks about his greatness in the sense of, is he a winner? And what I mean by a winner is he a winner in the sense that he wins and it's his fault, or if he wins it's his glory. If he loses, it's someone else's fault.
Everybody else's fault. Yeah.
Right. That's
a great point.
Yeah.
It's a really great point.
But I'm willing to be wrong on that, but I just can't in good conscience put him in the top 5 for me.
Yeah, I think there was a few years there where we were putting him in the top 5, and no one disagreed. But kind of that's why I'm reserved on Pat Mahomes, because and Russell Wilson too. Like as years wear on, and your team kind of has some turnover, or
Yeah.
maybe you get Andy Reid's older. Like, is he going to be his head coach his entire career? I doubt that. Like, you want to see that he stands a test, and I think that Pat Mahomes is that guy. I
Yeah.
don't know if Aaron Rodgers is. Like, he was really good when everything was clicking. But even when everything was clicking, it's still there's just kind of like an undersmell that was there that you couldn't really put your finger on. And now everything kind of melted down, and you're like, wait a minute.
And Aaron Rodgers had
Yeah.
a great situation to be in too. I mean, he studied under Brett Favre for a number of years,
For
I
a
believe.
couple of years, yeah.
So like I think that, and again, like Mike McCarthy's kind of a doo-doo head, so it's like he hasn't had a Hall of Fame quarter.
To put it lightly, yes.
It's very lightly.
He's a moron.
I mean, he had what's this dude? Jordy Nelson for a while, which was he was a good wide receiver.
He was a burner, man.
He's had good running backs, I feel. He has Aaron Jones, who's a good running back now. But I don't know. There's some stank on him. He's got the stank.
There is. He's got the
know.
stank.
I don't know what the stank
Carlos,
is.
you worded that way better than I did. The stank.
All right, Eric, what's yours?
Mine will just be quick because we've already mentioned his name. Is I put Drew Brees. He's my number. Where are we at? 8? Yeah, he's my number 8. I just, he produces year after year. He's an incredible guy at that position. I would put him higher if he won more, and I don't just mean rings. I mean like consistent deep playoff runs. And some year, I mean, here lately he has been doing that. I have to give him credit. Like he's had a renaissance. But there was a lot of years there before he retired, before these last few years, where their team was. I mean, he was really good, and he produced despite the team around him. But I don't know, like they were a losing franchise, or they were always in this perpetual rebuild, or and he was still putting up great numbers, but they just they weren't making deep playoff runs every year. Sure. So that's who I put as number 8.
Cool.
All right, my number 7, John Elway. John Elway.
I was gonna say
for number 7.
It's a little low, but it's
a little low.
At least he's there.
Yeah, you guys are gonna hate my top 5. But
yeah, I'm already can tell.
I loved the 98, 99, or 97, 98 Broncos teams because of Terrell Davis. I was a big Terrell Davis fan when I was 7 and 8 years old. But I'd seeing John Elway play in those 2 Super Bowls and during those seasons, he was money each of those years. He played in 5 Super Bowls throughout his entire career. And he had probably the best ending to a career you could possibly have. 2 back-to-back Super Bowl wins and then you retire. Like it's one of the most boss things ever. So I give him just ultimate respect for that, and just the fact that the Broncos were no one. Literally, they were no one before they drafted him, and him being on that team made that team relevant to get them into 5 Super Bowls. And
I just want to know how you could put number 7 and appearing in 5 Super Bowls in the same sentence. Like that's low. Like I don't understand why you would put a guy that's
because I don't think he was
deep playoff runs. 5 Super Bowls.
Guys who are more talented than him. I don't think he was like a ridiculous physical talent in throwing the ball. I think he had a lot of intangibles.
We'll play the coulda shoulda game just for a second. I'll break my own rule. How many Super Bowls do you think he'd have if Joe Montana wasn't in the league? How many Super Bowl rings? Because I think he lost 2 to Joe Montana. If I'm not, or at least 2 to the Joe Montana, Steve Young.
Yeah,
Troy Aikman too.
Troy Aikman. Okay, so I mean, not necessarily coulda, shoulda, woulda, but like he was in a really tough time as far as like competitive teams. Do you think he'd win more if he wasn't against like the Joe Montana, who's arguably the greatest of all time? Like in that conversation,
he probably could have gotten 1 more.
Would that change it for you if he had 3 rings?
Maybe bump up a slot or 2. Yeah.
So he could have been in your top 5 if he had 4 rings.
Possibly, yes. Yeah. 4 rings. Yeah,
1 or 2 more. Okay.
If he had 2 more, then yeah, he'd be.
If he had 3 rings, would he still be in the top 5?
He'd move up to 6 for sure, maybe 5. So he would definitely move up.
I'd be curious to know who you'd bump out of the top 5 to put him in if he had 3. But we can't do that. But like,
oh, sorry, I spoiled that. But,
Tyler, please.
All right, my number. We're on 7, right?
Yes.
My number 7 is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, just looking at this stat, 412 touchdowns to 89 interceptions. That's good.
It's the best all time.
That's really good. Yeah, exactly. And if you need somebody on your team who needs to be a poised pocket player, there's your guy. If you need somebody that can who can detect and evade pressure, extending plays for like 8 to 10 seconds, there you go. There's your guy right there. And the reason I put him at number 8, and for the longest time I had him like number 3. Just after this season, he's been bumped down so much because the lack of success in the playoffs. And I know that we've talked about how that's probably,
we had half an episode.
It's not, it's not his 100% his fault. It's really not. But, when you're talking about the top 10 QBs of all time, you got to have the success there. You got to have the good playoff runs. You got to have the Super Bowl rings. What does he have? One?
Yeah, he only has one.
He has one ring. For somebody as talented as he is, to be so bad in the playoffs, it's not 100% somebody else's fault. It's partly his fault. We could talk a 45-55 percentage here, but it's still his fault. It's somewhat. So that's why he's so low. But he is of all the players on the list, with the exception of one, he is the one player that deserves to be in the top 10 on everybody's list. On every single list, yeah. Aaron Rodgers should appear.
I agree.
100%. So that's
Carlos?
My number 7.
There's one thing on Aaron. I think this is who's the best QBs of the past 10 years, the past decade. I mean, he could be number 1 in my book. Just if you're talking about from 2010 to 2020, like he might be number 1. But there's a stank on him. I don't know. Number 7 for me. The stank. Number 7 for me is also John Elway. John Elway, great quarterback, great stats, clutch, ended it on a boss level, back-to-back rings.
I know. It's so sick.
Just got to do what you got to do. I don't like John Elway, really, but I got to respect what he did. And there's a great documentary. It was on Netflix at the time. It's the draft where Elway and John Marino were both drafted. Great documentary, and how he pretty much just like said, "Nah, I'm not playing," and you can draft someone else. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, John Elway. I don't need to beat the horse, but yeah, number 7.
All right. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, we know. So I think this might be my most controversial one. I'm not really sure. I wasn't sure how the Favre one will go down,
Steve McNair.
No.
Hey, don't hate on Steve McNair.
No, my number 7 is Troy Aikman.
Ugh.
Okay, so here's why. Here's why. Because I've heard Aaron say, well, his stats aren't good. Listen to this little paragraph. You might have heard that Aikman's numbers aren't as impressive because the Cowboys' offense was all about running the football. Well, that isn't exactly true. What is accurate is that the Dallas offense was a replica of the Air Coryell attack. I don't know what that is, which threw for quality, not quantity. What are you laughing at?
No, I think that's just funny.
Okay. With the Cowboys leading so often late in games in the 90s, there was no need to keep chucking it. From 1992 through 1995, the Cowboys led the league in fourth quarter rushing attempts every season, thus the low passing yards. Moreover, Aikman was the master of the intermediate throws, the deep outs, and the skinny posts. So no, his passing rating didn't soar over 100 because he didn't necessarily toss the 2-yard dumps that inflate completion percentage and passer rating. What Aikman did do was win. He won his first 7 postseason starts, ultimately finishing with an 11-4 playoff mark. He was outstanding when the Cowboys needed him to be. From 1992 through 1995, there was no better playoff quarterback. Perhaps what is most notable is that many opponents said about Aikman, which was that he was the most accurate passer they ever saw. So three-time Super Bowl championship. He's a Hall of Famer. He's been to the Pro Bowl. And I know the thing is that his stats aren't that great, but I think this is, again, why stats don't necessarily stack up to me all the time, because you need to know the rest of the story. So is it that they're just out there, which they do, by the way, now, and you can't tell me they don't, with these silly little chuck balls that really aren't passes, but they're really runs, but they're chucking the ball, so it counts as a catch. Like, they definitely try and pad those stats now so that they're more competitive with everybody else, because stats matter so much. But in the end of the day, like, if you're playing for a team that doesn't have to throw the ball because you can just rush the ball and still win, why does that hurt the quarterback? that still ends up winning 3 Super Bowls, and when you need him, he's there. Like I am all for a quarterback, and this is why I've loved Brady for so many years. How many times did he go to Denver and lose? And then I remember one of the last times he went to Denver, the game plan was just don't let Brady throw the ball, and they just handed it off, and he did these short.
Yeah.
He had like 100 yards that day
Yeah.
because that wasn't the game plan. So you're going to discredit Brady because the game plan was you're not that good on this stadium, and for whatever reason, so we're going to take you out of it and still win. But when we need you in a couple weeks from now, we're going to lean on you. Like
Eric,
I can't discredit a game plan.
I will Venmo you $5 right now if you can guess who has a higher career completion rating, Brett Favre or Troy Aikman.
I'm gonna go Troy Aikman.
No, it's Brett Favre.
Oh, well, okay. I thought maybe
So
it was
he's
not obvious answer.
Well, I mean, the only thing I don't hate it because there's a lot of logic to what you said. There's a lot of logic. They just beat everybody. Like they were just such a dominant team. That's like everyone in America is either a Lakers fan, a Cowboys fan, or some
Yankees
sort of
fan.
a Yankees fan because they win and the Cowboys won. I can't get behind it just because he didn't throw for 200 touchdowns at all in his career. Like he's like 160 something.
I can't give him his career high is like for yards in a season's like 3,400.
165 touchdowns to 141 interceptions.
But again, did he need to throw all those yards?
Hey,
like
we'll we'll give him the intangibles on this one.
And I can't stand that today. Like it doesn't stack up today, but today they inflate it. They do those. How many times do you see Pat Mahomes and even Brady and everybody else? Like the running back runs around and then it's in the shotgun. Brady catches the ball and he shovel past it, and that's a completion. Like
there's validity
that's the
there
league
too.
now.
Like right now, if you don't throw for 4,000, passing yards, you're not a very good quarterback. You're below average in terms of a quarterback. But like back in his day, like throwing for like 3,500, 3,000 yards, you were like a solid QB. People will draft you number 1. So I think there's validity to what you said. It's just hard for me to get on board that train.
Okay, fair. Let's keep going.
Carlos isn't on the train. Doesn't got a ticket.
Number 6.
Almost got kicked off the bus in Israel and not on this train.
I'm gonna move quick because we got to get moving on this. But 6 is Dan the Man, Dan Marino.
Dan the Man,
gosh.
number 6.
Yeah, let's put the guy number 6 that
Marino.
never won any Super Bowls. Okay.
What do you mean?
I think he's one of the. I think outside of maybe like Patrick Mahomes and Rodgers is one of the best, just pure passers.
100% agree. 100%.
You're right. He might make Aaron Rodgers look like even less of a D-bag because he was
So-
like the ultimate D-bag.
So I just like, as far as like, he's one of the all-time most talented players to ever play the quarterback position.
I can't stand
So I'm
that.
putting him at 6.
I agree.
He
with
did
you.
it. He made like 2 deep playoff runs. He made 2.
Yeah,
He's still a great
he
quarterback.
had
can't be all
horrible
Troy Aikman.
defenses, man. His defenses were dookie, bro.
I couldn't agree with
They
you
had
more.
no running game. They had no running game ever when he was there.
Oh
His
wait, so
running backs
okay,
were
so
trash.
wait a minute. We're gonna discredit Troy Aikman because he had a good running game, but we're gonna discredit that Dan Marino shouldn't be in the top 10 because he didn't have a running game. Like what?
He also had
No,
60,000 pass yards and like
Yeah.
over 400 some touchdowns. So I mean, yeah, a little
Dan
bit.
Marino was a
Yeah,
very
so-
talented person.
Yeah, he's one of the most talented pure passers of all time. Number 6.
Go rewatch some Dan Marino highlights. He should
Tyler, give him your number
he
6.
should be in there. All right, my number 6 is John Elway. When I look at his stats, 51,000 yards, a little bit over that, 56.9 completion percentage, 7.1 yards per attempt, which is still pretty good. 300 touchdowns. Okay. For the amount of years he was in, that's not the best. And then 226 interceptions. That's 300 to 226 is like, that's not so bad. But we get to the intangibles, right? John Elway could run the ball. He had legs. That dude could run. He's the only quarterback in NFL history to score a rushing touchdown in 4 different Super Bowls. He rushed for 3,407 yards and 33 touchdowns in 16 years or 16 seasons. That's a lot for a quarterback. That's good, especially for when he was playing. So, and he was a clutch quarterback in the postseason. He had 4 fourth quarter comebacks and 6 game winning drives in the playoffs. Right. So he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He was the Super Bowl MVP of one of those. And he was the 87 MVP of the league, 9-time Pro Bowler, and 2-time AFC Offensive Player of the Year. So just by decoration and by pure running talent to be able to get out of the pocket, John Elway belongs there at number 6.
Yep, I'm not mad at it. I agree.
Wow.
I heard
Aaron,
words coming out.
agreeing a lot on these things, man.
I heard
I'm
all
getting
those words
scared.
come out of your mouth, and I'm still so triggered by the fact that we have a guy in the top 10 that hasn't even been to a Super Bowl. But okay, whatever.
Because Dan Marino is a better passer than probably definitely at least 7 of these guys.
He's
in
a
the top
pure
10.
passer. He is.
Great.
There's no doubt.
So glad he throws a pretty ball and did it really good. So glad that's all
Yeah, he did it really
We're
well.
talking
Yeah,
about the top 10 quarterbacks. That's
Yeah,
their
because
job.
their job has a lot more to do than just throwing the football.
Yeah,
And I
because
don't think that
there's
guy
not like
performed
50
real well.
some other
But he
players.
was talented in the position. I don't understand where
He was talented
disconnect
at
is.
throwing. He's talented at throwing the football in the position. Yay.
Yeah, so is Tom
He's a
Brady.
quarterback.
Tom Brady. No, you can't. You just compared Tom Brady to Dan Marino.
Tom Brady's
that's
way better, but Dan
Yeah.
Marino is still like one of the best to ever play.
That's a little jarring to try and compare that.
Well, this is going to be hard to agree on. All right, let's move on because we're close. on
Eric's
time
in a
here.
camp all by himself. I hate Dan Marino.
I do. You're right. I don't like him. I also I don't.
Wow, Eric's going to hit my number 5 then.
I don't like Dan Marino and I don't like Marvel movies. So these are the things you've learned over the past couple weeks. You're not changing my mind on them.
All right, all
Carlos,
right, all right,
go.
Carlos.
My number 6 is Johnny Unitas. Johnny Unitas,
There he is.
in an era where, like, if we're talking like how like in the 80s and 90s they didn't throw the football, like let's go back to like the 50s and the 60s where literally like it was not expected to throw the ball that like running was pound and ground, giving the rock, pass it through. Over 40,000 passing yards.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Over 200, almost 300 touchdowns. He did have a high interception rate, but that's okay because he's a winner. And 1 Super Bowl champ, 3-time NFL champ, MVPs. List goes on. He's just one of the stalwarts of the game.
Agreed.
Yep.
Number 6 for me is Aaron Rodgers. I don't think we need to beat that dead horse. I just want to say that 2 years ago he was in my top 5 and he has since slid out. I think he has not stood the test of time. Number 5, Aaron, go.
Good.
Joe Montana. 4 for 4 Super Bowl wins, which obviously that's phenomenal. Undefeated in Super Bowls. And then the fact that he goes to KC and gets him into the playoffs for both years, you can't discredit that. Like the dude is a winner. I can't put him higher, just because I don't think he, again, talent wise, I don't know if he's better than some of the other guys, but he still makes my top 5. He makes my top 5.
That makes my head hurt. Yeah, I don't know.
Joe Montana.
Yeah, I think
Oh
I think
my
the two of you
gosh.
just stopped agreeing because this is where I've been.
No,
like,
the
This
top
might
5.
be the
You're gonna
one. This might be the
you're gonna
one, but
completely disagree with all my top
you
5.
just took. Oh my gosh.
4 Super Bowl wins, and then they trade him because they think he's not, or he leaves or whatever.
Honestly,
it is. And
I'm just glad he's in Aaron's top 10.
I know.
I was really
I
coming in
my
thinking.
top 5.
I'm just glad he's there at all because I was thinking that he would not even be. I think he'd be the honorable mention, but I'm glad.
No,
I don't.
Top 5.
His
He's top
stats are interesting, but I mean, also too, if we're going, if Troy Aikman's top 10 worthy because his team just kicked butt all the time, I don't.
How are you mad that I put him in my top 5?
I think
That's
the
a
difference
re-
is
that's
that Joe
really good.
Montana was the reason his team kicked butt all the time. Like I think they had a really good team being around him, but I don't know his postseason.
I mean,
stats
yeah,
were
Jerry
pretty good.
Rice was an okay player.
He was
Yeah.
the best ever. I will give you that. I'll give you
I
that.
think
But
Jerry
mean,
Rice might be arguably you could put him in the conversation. Well, Brady's surpassed it, but being like the second greatest football player of all time.
Jerry Rice
I
is
think
definitely
that-
the second
yeah.
greatest. His record's unassailable. I don't think anyone's gonna
Yeah.
touch that.
I think he played a big factor in Montana being as productive as he is. He's the greatest receiver to ever play, bar none.
what's Tyler's number 5 before he has a hernia over there.
Well, I mean, we're just the triggering is just going to intense more.
I
because
knew
my
the top
number
5 was gonna.
My
get
number 5,
dicey.
Eric, I'm so sorry, is Dan Marino. Dan Marino is my number 5. Okay, so you're going to talk about. We've already gone 420 touchdowns. That's pretty good for a career. 16 years. Dan Marino, he had one of the quickest releases of any passer that has ever existed. He could just get the ball out. Okay, combine that with his ability to diagnose defenses, and you'll quickly understand how he amassed such stellar stats. Because his stats are there. I don't care if he doesn't have Super Bowls. His stats are there.
It's not even just the Super Bowls; it's the playoff runs. They just
okay. So then, also he had no help whatsoever in the way of a supporting cast on when he was with the Dolphins.
He didn't.
I have to give you guys that. I watched I'll send it to you guys. A really great video on him not too long ago, and that is there. Like they really didn't do him a service. I have to give you that. You know,
They Andrew lucked him. That's pretty much what happened.
He just
100%.
Well,
so
that's fair.
When you evaluate the NFL quarterbacks, it's a balancing act between stats, playing style, and wins. And we added intangibles there, but and Marino would have everything you want from stats and playing style, but like you said, his teams never won a Super Bowl, and it hurts him in the great quarterbacks conversation. But just because he's never won a Super Bowl doesn't mean he didn't win. He had 17 seasons with the Miami Dolphins. He reached the postseason 10 times. So just with the sheer skill that he had, that's why he's in my top 5. He was a skilled player. He was a very skilled player.
Yeah. One of the most skilled passers of all time.
And to be able to bring a team that didn't have anybody on it except Dan Marino 10 times to the postseason.
It's impressive.
That's good. That's
they were only there because
do we want to talk about his last game in the postseason? His last game ever playing? Do we want to talk about that?
The dude was like concussed the entire year.
His 62 to 5 blowout or something
to the Jaguars.
To the Jaguars.
It's one game.
He was concussed that whole season. Like he was a shell of a man. He was so banged up.
Go ahead, Carlos.
We can't let the last games of these players determine their success.
I agree.
Guys, Andrew Luck is a great player. He's a fantastic QB, but he's not in the top 10. Dan Marino is my
yeah.
I literally saw Aaron's eyes
bug. I was like,
his eyes became like translucent.
I still think the Cam Newton was the bigger offense, though. To be honest,
that still hurts me.
You better wait until we get there, guys.
Keep going.
But Dan Marino is just, in terms of QB, you might think of Dan Marino. When I think of QB, is just there. He's in my mind. His stats are there. He was a great presence in the pocket. We're just beating the dead horse with that. And he was just good at football. Unfortunately, it just didn't line up for him. I think in football, it's a little different than basketball because we might judge basketball players more harshly if they don't get a ring. I think in football, if they have stats to back up their career, I think it's more accepting that they didn't win because football's more of a team. Right. It requires more of a team. You could be LeBron and take the Cavs to the finals back in 2008, 2000, whatever that year was. So I think that it's more dependent on that. So yeah, Dan Marino, number 5.
Number 5. So I
can't be mad. I agree.
My change. Ugh, you guys. I just think rings matter in that league. I do think
you're sheep. You're all sheeple.
Oh, that was 10 out of 10.
I was so triggered. Tyler, you got me good that time. I try so hard not to engage Tyler in that group chat because he's just trolling away. He's I love being a troll. I remember fishing with umbrella rigs on Cape Cod. And that's how you troll. You put out all these little tentacles, and you're just like, "I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to get this side. I'm going to get this guy." And I'm like, "No, I can't say anything." And then
it's an art.
And then I go on lunch, and I'm like, "You know what? I don't have self-control. And I'm just going to say what I need to say."
Him fuming in his work truck. Just.
And then, you know what's really funny about that? Really quick is when somebody finally snaps at me. I try and make them feel bad for snapping at me when they completely were justified in snapping at me because I was during the break.
I can personally attest to this feeling. I have felt it many a time. Tyler has triggered me, and I've literally been like, man, he probably hates me now because I'm such a dirtbag.
No, man.
And you know he's sitting there just like
Yeah, he's sitting out. He's sitting at work refilling the old guy's coffee, bored out of his mind, going, "Ah, these idiots."
Well, I don't call you idiots, but yeah, basically.
Okay, so the change for me between 6 and 5 is that, to me, in my opinion, this is why I'm annoyed by the Dan Marino one, is that 5 is where you change from, like, you're really good and you deserve top 10 to now you become a legend of the sport. Like, I
Sure.
think the top 5 is safe for the true legends of the sport. And so for that reason, number 5 is Johnny Unitas for me. I'm not going to beat that dead horse again. Like, I feel like all of you guys have mentioned him a little bit lower. I mentioned him higher because, again, like, a true legend. I just watched, for whatever reason, I had like the Antique Roadshow on. I watched a lot of weird things, as you guys have gathered. And like, he had like someone found or was given a Baltimore Colts jersey, and they appraised it at like $160,000 because it had his signature on it, and like it was like personalized for him. Like, that's because he's a freaking legend. And I saw this stat too. Drew Brees threw a touchdown 6.8% of his passes. Johnny Unitas threw a touchdown, I think, every 7.9% of his passes. So Drew Brees is slightly better than him, right? That's how that stat works. But right, like someone confirm, or is it
Wait,
Johnny
what?
Unitas better? So pay attention,
If
please,
he has
because I
a
don't do
higher
math.
percentage,
He
that
has a
would be
higher
better.
so Johnny Unitas is better. Okay, so sometimes it's anyways. So Johnny Unitas is still better at throwing touchdowns than Drew Brees. 7.9% of his passes were touchdowns.
Well,
Like,
Breeze also doubled the amount of
that's
pass
true.
attempts.
I'm not, but percentages where everything, from apples to oranges becomes apples to apples when you put everything in percentages. So I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of a crazy thing to me that a guy in the 1950s and 60s was throwing touchdowns more efficiently than guys today. I realize that Drew Brees obviously threw more yards and passes and all that, but anyways, before I make any more math mistakes, he's my number 5. Aaron, number 4.
Drew Brees, and this is where you guys start probably hating me for
I
it.
actually
But
don't.
the reason, so if he didn't have a Super Bowl win, he wouldn't have been in my top 5. But he does have one, and the fact that he has the record for most passing yards in a season, he currently has the record for most passing yards career, like total. He was number 1 in touchdowns this year until Brady passed him. I mean, you look at all the passing records, and and completion percentage, I think he's the most accurate. Like, I don't know how, with the Super Bowl win, how he's not in the top 5. The dude holds like almost everything, or he's either top 1 or top 2 in every category. For me, it's got to be top 5. Like, so that's my piece. I'm not going to spend any more time on that.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, you might disagree with me for putting him so low, but 100%, like, if, stats wise, he is a top 5 quarterback, but just for my liking, he's number 10.
Yeah, for your
There's a
logic,
huge
Aaron,
disconnect there.
I don't think anybody is going to disagree that he's not a top 10. I just, again, my thought is top 5 is like true legends. And I don't know if Drew Brees is a true legend, but he is phenomenal at what he does.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't
He is a good
disagree
dude,
at
too.
all
He's a
that
really
you
good guy.
put him in top 5. I think that's actually a good choice.
10.
Go ahead.
But no, he's not in my top 10 just because of my criteria of picking. If it was like who is the best statistical QB, like if we're doing that list, he's definitely in my top 10. But he's my
not
honorable
in your
mention.
top 10.
No,
Drew
it's not.
Brees isn't in your. I mean, what?
No, and it's not. It's not his fault. It's my fault. It's my fault.
Okay,
it's
as long as we acknowledge that, then that's fine.
it's not because I think he's not. Yeah, it's just the way I judged. I ranked it, but again.
Okay, so
fair.
My number 4 is Johnny Unitas. 40,239 yards, 54.6% completion percentage, and 7.8 yards per attempt, that's high. That's really high. Only 290 touchdowns, and he threw 253 picks, which is bad. He had a 278.2 career passer rating. He won a Super Bowl, and then he won the NFL. What did they do before the Super Bowl?
There was wasn't there AFL, the American Football League,
and then the NFL,
and then right, and then they became the NFC and the AFC, more or less.
Right. So basically,
changing,
he has 3 rings, but 2 of them came before they joined. He was a 10-time Pro Bowler and 3-time NFL MVP. So, before, so Joe Montana, right? He would earn that nickname Joe Cool, and it was his ability to keep calm under pressure. Johnny Unitas did that years before Joe Montana did. He was that guy. He was undersized, like Drew Brees. He was only 6'1". Johnny Unitas was only 6'1". Okay, and nonetheless, he was one of the most deadly passing offense. He led one of the most deadly passing offenses that the league has ever seen. He was accurate, and his 4.9 interception percentage and his 54.6 completion percentage is among the lowest and highest. So that's kind of bad for him, but he revolutionized the quarterback position for his sheer offensive production in a run first era. Okay, when we talk about somebody who was in you run the ball first and your second option is to pass it, Johnny Unitas was just he
invented the 2-minute drill.
He was
too.
just yeah. He's just better than everybody else of that era. He revolutionized without him, I don't know if the quarterbacks that we see today would be doing the things that they do.
I agree.
Yep, I'm with you on
he
that.
just revolutionized it. All right, that's my number 4.
Carlos?
Number 4 is Joe Montana. Joe Montana.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so right. Just so right. Honestly, Joe Montana, he is so. I mean, honestly, you can't think about football for like a decade or more without thinking about him, particularly how dominant they were. I think he might have been helped a little bit just because he had probably the second greatest football player of all time, catching his balls.
Greatest
footballs.
receiver of all time. Good fix.
And but I just can't put him over other people in the top 3. So that's why he's number 4.
Sure.
Number 4 for me is John Elway. I don't know if there's a better way for a guy to go out than to win 2 in a row. I think he would have.
He has the best story for that.
I definitely agree. Unless Brady wins 2 in a row and retires, then you're like,
he can do it. He could win next year and retire. Who knows?
Seriously. I think that he could have won more, but I think the competition was intense, and I think that just is what it is. But even still, I think it paints a story that he was like he made his team get to the Super Bowl for 5 times, which means that probably in that span in the 90s when like the NFC was the better league or conference, he was the best team in the AFC. I mean, granted, the other 5 times was somebody else, but it's kind of like how it is now, but in reverse, right? Like in the AFC now, it's one of 2 or 3 teams that consistently make it there, and the NFC's always been kind of like this revolving door. Well, that's in the 90s. Think of it oppositely, but it was Elway and the Broncos that were making it most of the time.
Especially those Super Bowl, the 2 years they won the Super Bowl, they were by far the dominant team.
Yeah.
In the AFC, or no one was even close to them.
I think their ownership did right by him too, and said, you know what, you're so freaking good, and you deserve to win one. So we're gonna win now. We're gonna build this team to win now, and they ended up winning 2. So I think that's legit. So that's my number 4. Aaron, number 3.
Aaron Rodgers. I know you guys.
I'm not mad.
Adam.
I can't hate it. I
think so you remember how we put Dan Marino at number 6 because I said he's one of the best pure passers ever to play the game, and I said probably out of like the 7 or 8 guys on this list, Rodgers is one of those guys I think is above Marino as far as passing talent. Tyler, you were naming off the stats. His touchdown to interception ratio is untouchable.
Yeah, nobody will ever. I don't think anybody will ever beat that.
He has the for the amount of games played in his career. He has the highest quarterback rating of all time. And it's not even close. And outside of Tom Brady, Tom Brady would be the guy I pick for 2-minute drill. You need that touchdown. You need that score. He's number 1 for that. For me, it's Rodgers. Rodgers would be number 2 for that. Like whenever I granted the Patriots never really played them too much, but like if I'm watching a Packers game and they're playing another team and Rodgers gets the ball, I'm scared for the other team. Like he legitimately like kind of like puts that for even in the playoff games he loses. There's always that, oh crap,
yeah,
he has the ball.
Yeah,
and it's like, dear God, what is he gonna do with this? Like, not many guys in the league do that to me outside of like a Brady or a Rodgers in this case. So he's my number 3.
I'm not mad at you at all for that pick.
I get the logic. I just think it hasn't stood the test of time.
It's just the fear that he puts into like people. Like, it's like, oh shoot, he can do this. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
like,
he's
the
proven
talent.
it at least 2 times that I can think of him ahead of clips I've watched of him. You know, 5 seconds left and you got to throw Hail Mary. The one person I don't want throwing that ball is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that part I agree to for sure. Yeah, I definitely agree to that.
I mean, that's down to 5 seconds. You know, every other game with any other quarterback, with the exception of maybe Tom Brady, I'm like, if there's 5 seconds left and I'm up, I'm winning. But if you put Aaron Rodgers behind that and throwing that Hail Mary, I'm scared. I'm scared. Oh yeah, 100%. So I don't disagree with that at all. But it's the one Super Bowl that does it for me. So my number 3 is, you know, lately I've been watching Tom Brady on Instagram, and he just recently went to Disney World in Florida to check out.
I saw that.
So cool.
To check out the. I forget what the little town's name is, but it's the Star Wars exhibit that they have there.
If you say he's your number 3, I'm turning this off right now.
And you know, you have the video that I watched today of Kylo Ren coming up to Tom Brady and saying, "Join the dark side, join the dark side." And Tom Brady's like, "I'm on a winning team," and it was a cool video. So my whole life I've seen Tom Brady as the light, you know, the good guy. He was the good guy in my mind.
I know where this is going.
My number 3 is the guy on the dark side, and his name is Peyton Manning.
Yep, I knew that's where it's going.
But for the guy that I didn't like for most of my life to be in my top 3, I think that says something about the quarterback that he was. 71,940 yards, 65.3 completion percentage, 7.7 yards per attempt, which is like in the modern era, that's good. 539 touchdowns and 251 interceptions.
The wheels of Carlos's head are turning.
The 90. Now listen, this is great rating. 96.5 passer rating for lifetime. That's good for a lifetime.
It's really good.
That's really
it's really good.
So if you want to create a quarterback in a lab, the first thing you would do is give him Peyton Manning's brain.
And forehead.
And head size. Yeah.
It was just his ability to diagnose coverages, audible the line of scrimmage, and win the mental battle against the opposing defense. Yeah. You know,
I would argue he might be the smartest quarterback.
I might give you that too. Yeah. I don't know. I think Brady's really real, but Brady's like
Brady
muscle memory.
And Manning are like
it's
right
close
here
because Brady keeps going, and then you see these things that he does.
Peyton he's definitely one of the top 2 like smartest minds in the game of football.
To Brady's credit, I always thought Manning was smarter, and then Brady went to Tampa Bay, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've seen this highlight reel before.
So the reason he's in my top 3 is because of how smart he was, how good he was with just being a football player, and he was one of the best regular season quarterbacks the league's ever seen.
Yep.
So
and still got 2 Super Bowl wins.
And he still got 2 Super Bowl wins. And to be able to get through Tom Brady and when Tom Brady was in his heyday with Rob Gronkowski, and to be able to get through that and win a Super Bowl for your last year ever, I got to give it up to him. Number 3, he's that good.
Yep.
Carlos?
Agreed.
You guys remember in Lord of the Rings when Rohan?
I've never seen it.
Well, we all need Jesus at times. Just kidding. It's just like anyway. When Rohan goes to Minas Tirith and they arrive, you hear the horns of Rohan, and you see King Theoden pulls up, and his face just drains because it goes, like the 100,000 orcs. But then like he just gets pumped, and he's like, death, and that's how I feel right now, because I feel like I'm riding into like to die.
A sore day, a cold day, and the sun rises.
What is it, Carlos?
My number 3 is Brett Favre.
No, I'm not even gonna fill in the table.
No. let's listen to me, okay? Listen to me. Don't act like I just wounded you deeply, because you all were talking about how Peyton Manning had over 70,000 yards. Yes, true. It's true. Brett Favre also has over 70. He has 71,838. He has in total touchdowns 508 touchdowns. 86 passer rating is not bad. The only reason you hate Brett Favre is because of his interceptions. Now, let me ask you
he threw
this:
over 400.
320 something.
Whatever.
But who's
It's
who's
like,
counting? But my question is, if you are a
I
winner,
bet he was.
if you're a winner, what does it matter? What does it matter how many interceptions you throw? If you are a pure, unadulterated, awesome dude who's throwing the
I think
football,
he was pretty good at adultery too, though.
I mean,
he's
yeah,
good with phones.
he's good at wearing Wrangler jeans. Let me tell you that much.
Dude, forearm.
So, Jesus, I don't know. He's also interesting stat, which I think is very telling. How many times do you think he's been sacked compared to Peyton Manning, for instance? And we all were like, oh, Peyton Manning would have done so much if he had O-line. Well, Peyton Manning got sacked 303 times. Brett Favre 525 times he was sacked. So if you're talking about
But
pure
is that
stats,
O-line's fault all the time, or is that him just
No.
like running around with the ball
but
trying
what
to
I'm
make
s-
something?
but that's the thing. If you have those stats, you have those many touchdowns, your literal nickname is Gunslinger, and you are a leader of men.
Not a
Yeah,
legend.
he
of the
was great
sport.
at gunslinging it to the other team.
But your only hatred of him, you're like, oh, dude, I love Peyton Manning and Kurt Warner and Stanton Bitters. But you're like, well, Brett Favre had
Peyton
over
Manning
3.
is 10 times the quarterback.
Do you
Brett
know?
Favre is.
Carlos,
I agree.
Carlos, listen to
But-
me. Do you know what the object, what the quarterback is trying to do every time is to throw the ball to your own teammate? You know what Brett
I
Favre was
do.
great at? Throwing it
I
to the
do.
other team.
And you know what he's also good at? Throwing the football for touchdowns and winning championships. He won 1, went to 2. Okay, but again,
And Peyton won 2.
An hour
no,
an hour ago, he had won too.
Whoa. Oh, yeah, that's true. But I'm not saying that Brett Favre is better than Peyton Manning. What I'm saying is that Brett Favre is worthy, and may I say, should be in your top 5. If you're going off, it's so ridiculous to me how you're like, I will literally take the shoes off of Peyton Manning and Drew Brees for stats. But I won't do that because Brett Favre has high interception rate. I'm not saying that he doesn't. What I'm saying is Brett Favre was a winner. He was a legend in his right. He was everything you want in a quarterback. Yes, he did throw the ball to someone.
Everything you wanted.
You are being ridiculous. You are being ridiculous because you're
I
looking
think
at
here's what ridiculous is: you put Brett Favre above Joe Montana. That's even a level Aaron didn't go to. Let's be clear about that.
I'm not heretical. Goodness.
Right.
What I am saying is that if what I'm looking
He's
at,
stuttering. He's frazzled.
I'm not stuttering.
This is
I have
this is
never been
Let
more.
him finish. Hey, let him finish.
I've never been more confident in a pick in my life that Brett Favre is a top 5. You might argue with me about like top 5, top 10. That's fine. But the fact that none of y'all, like only one of you, I believe, had Brett Favre in your top 10 is a sin against football. Y'all need football Jesus, and you need to repent.
If this was Among Us, we'd already have voted him off.
I know.
You'd be
But you would have
flying.
done that. You would have done that anyway. You would have been like, oh,
Brown-
Carlos breathed in navigation, so he obviously
brown
killed.
sauce.
Oh, we have done that. Yeah.
Brown sus.
Brown sauce.
That's
The best part is that usually when we do, he was in fact the imposter. Number 3 for me was Peyton Manning. Tyler, I completely agree with you. I don't know where this whole Brett Favre narrative is coming from, but I remember as a kid, my mom asked me who my second favorite team was, and I said the Colts. I've since changed my mind, thankfully, but like because I had so much respect for Peyton Manning, and if it really wasn't for Ty Law, I don't know if Peyton Manning would or wouldn't have gotten past. And obviously, the coulda, woulda, shoulda game, he didn't get past Ty Law because Ty Law had his number, man.
Mhm.
Ty Law was in his prime. He was picking off Peyton Manning like it was, like
Ty Law
picking
was
off
so
kids in
good.
pickup
He
games.
was
Like
so good.
he was so good, but like Peyton Manning is definitely one of the most talented in skills. And I also think he's just good for the sport. And I would argue, Tyler, you talk about dark side, light side. I think a lot of people would think that Tom Brady's Kylo Ren and Peyton Manning is the light
No,
side,
I
because
agree.
everybody loves to hate Tom Brady because he
Right.
wouldn't stop losing, and the whole emperor
It's
thing
true.
with Belichick. But anyways, nerd stuff aside, I think that Peyton was also been really good for the sport. Like, just in general, like,
Yeah.
he's a good guy for the sport. He has all those, nationwide is on my side. And he does the one
He's a
with Brad
funny
Paisley
dude.
too,
He's
which is really
hilarious.
funny. He's just really good for this. I hope he ends up in a booth one day.
I
Like,
do too.
he would be a funny guy up in a booth.
He's got a perfect personality that you want out of a quarterback that retires.
I
Because
agree.
he hasn't just ghosted the league. You still
No.
see Peyton Manning all over the place.
Yep.
And I think that's great. After his retirement, I think
So
Peyton
go ahead,
Manning has
Aaron.
become one of my favorite people. But
Oh, he's hilarious. He's my number 2. is
I was
Peyton
just saying, we
Manning.
might as well just keep this going. That's
Yeah,
why I knew Aaron.
His
let Aaron go.
his nickname's the Sheriff. That's one of the coolest things. Like, because he was outside of Tom Brady. Like, he's the guy when he takes the field, he ran everything. Like, he was one of those few quarterbacks who the coach would call a play and he's like, nah, like, we're doing my thing. And it was usually better than what the coach was going to do anyways. He played at a level where I think he's right up there with Brady's mind, maybe even smarter. I just think Brady has leadership intangibles that Manning doesn't, or Manning has them, but I think Brady's are just that superior. But Manning, when that dude, when he had the ball and he needed to score, you couldn't stop him. Like, the defenses could do nothing against that man. He had such a command of the field that was absolutely unstoppable, and it was almost like mythical when he'd get the ball. So for me, him being number 2, no one's even close to that number 2 slot. I think it's like the top 2 are like, there's like a chasm between them. That's for me.
Tyler?
my number 2 is Joe Montana, Mr. Joe Cool. I mean, just to put it all into one sentence, he won 4 Super Bowls in a row. 4 in a row.
Yeah. And then he went to the Chiefs, who were a nobody team, and he brought them to
Playoffs
an
2
AFC
years in a row.
championship,
Yeah, he brought him.
including an AFC championship game. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about just somebody paving the way for up and coming quarterbacks in the modern era. Joe Montana's that guy. And I'm going to leave it right at that. 4 Super Bowls in a row. That's my
They
number
weren't
2.
in a row.
They weren't in a row?
I don't think they were in a row. No.
Oh.
I think he won 3 out of 4 or something like that, but I don't think he was 4 in a row.
Oh, whatever it was. I just know he had an incredibly impressive career with the 49ers. I honestly thought it was in a row. It's not. You're right, though. 100% you're right. Either way, 4 Super Bowls, Offensive Player of the Year in '89. I think he paved the way for quarterbacks in the modern era. And then, what's the one clip you think of when you think of like crazy game-winning touchdowns?
Oh, the catch.
It's that one catch. I didn't even know who caught
Dwight
it.
Clark.
Yeah, that's
Dwight
what it
Clark
was.
caught it.
I mean, he's just been that guy for so long. So that's my number 2.
Cool.
Carlos?
His is Peyton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, oh my goodness, it's gonna be like
Not?
Mike Vick or something.
No, I know what he's about to do.
Eli
Is
Manning.
it Tom Brady?
No, I know what he's about to do.
My
Go
number
ahead.
2 is Tom Brady.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Now, here's why. Now, this isn't fair.
He has Peyton number 1.
I do have Peyton number
I
1.
live in Indianapolis now. I think Peyton Manning's the best ever. 5 years ago, I was arguing at college about how Tom Brady's the best ever. Then I moved out to Indy, and now my whole narrative has changed.
Eric, you figured out my whole entire life. Why don't you get a cookie or something and sit down? So
Okay.
my I love you. So my mind in this is that Tom Brady can be number 1, and in a lot of ways should be number 1. But if I'm thinking of, if all things are being equal, if I have the same players, the same defense, who do I want under center? And honestly, I want Peyton Manning, not Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a man among men. He's won 7 championships. He's had very good teams while doing it. And I think that you can put him number one. I think you could put him number two. Personally, he's my number two just because I think Peyton Manning's my number one. Seems ridiculous to say, but I just think that with that criteria in mind, that's why he's number two.
Okay, so Peyton Manning's my number three. Joe Montana is my number two. Joe Montana was the guy. So I've said this a couple times. Like, when we have all these arguments about Tom Brady, so Tom Brady's really good, but is he better than Peyton Manning? And then there was that debate. And then it was, Tom Brady. Well, is he better than Aaron Rodgers? And then he kind of beat out Aaron Rodgers. Well, Joe Montana, who's my number two, he's untouchable. He won 4 Super Bowls. As good as Brady is, he could never get that. Then Brady's won 7 now? 7.
Yep.
Yeah. Just so we're clear, 7. But I think that the guy that was the GOAT before Brady was Joe Montana. And I thought that was an untouchable. And then Brady all but completely shattered that thing. He completely shattered that thing is what I'm trying to say.
Well, ever since Tom Brady won his 4th Super Bowl, he's been playing catch up with Joe Montana. Because it was Joe Montana's the GOAT. Joe Montana's the GOAT. And it's like, he wins 5. Tom Brady wins 6. Tom Brady wins 7. Okay, yeah, he's the best.
Yeah. You kind of blew that out of the water is how I think. So that's my number 2.
Yeah.
For number 1, besides
Tom Brady, I don't
can
even
we
think
just even I don't understand how we could even have a
I'm gonna
debate about
edit
Peyton Manning.
Carlos so it says Tom Brady.
I'm glad all of you are fair and you are accepting.
Wait, hold on.
Opinions.
Can you guys just be quiet for 1 second? Carlos, can you just say Tom Brady really quick for me so I can get a clip?
Peyton Manning.
But
no,
for me, it's not close.
So it's all of us as Tom Brady, and we've explained this 1,000 times in this podcast why we think Tom Brady is the best. But there's obviously somebody here who doesn't think that. So why don't we let him have the floor?
I think again, this is a list of who are your top 10 QBs of all time. Now, this isn't of QBs to stats, Super Bowl rings. Obviously, Tom Brady would be high on those lists anyway, especially for Super Bowl. He has more Super Bowl rings than franchises do, obviously. But Peyton Manning,
he can't be number 1.
You're acting like this is the end all. This is just my list, man. This is my list. Again,
My list.
Just to recap your list, you have 2 New England players on there. One is Cam Newton, who's in your top 10 all time, and Tom Brady, who's not number 1. Okay.
Yes, because in my mind, if all things being equal, if Peyton Manning won on the Patriots, how many Super Bowls would Peyton Manning have won?
2.
Peyton Manning
3, maybe.
More. The answer is more.
No.
I don't know if Peyton Manning does that 2-minute drill in 2001 as efficiently as Brady did.
I don't know.
If he does it.
I don't know if Peyton Manning comes back against the Falcons.
That's a good one too. I don't know if Peyton Manning has
He doesn't.
I don't know if he doesn't. I don't know if he comes back.
It's hard to say that.
No, it's not.
It's hard. Yes, it is. You can't say that something wouldn't or shouldn't have couldn't happen.
That 2-minute drill
right.
at the end of 2001. At that 2-minute is a thing of beauty. I don't know if anybody else could do a 2-minute drill like that. I don't know if anybody else can come back against the Seahawks.
Again,
I don't know if anybody can come back against the Falcons.
I still have to hear the reason why Peyton Manning is number 1. So just please
because again, this is my opinion. I don't get paid for my sports opinions, so I have a right to say whatever I want. If I under 2-minute drill, all things being equal, I have the same team between quarterbacks, and I need someone who's going to get me a touchdown, I'm picking Peyton Manning number 1 because of his football IQ, his ability to throw the ball. And I'm not saying that Tom Brady can't be number 1. Honestly, I would probably pick Tom Brady. The homer in me obviously would pick Tom Brady, but I'm thinking of subjectively, I'm picking Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning has over 70,000 yards passing. He has over a gajillion touchdowns. Not really, but you know what I mean. He was so smart on the line of scrimmage. He'd call out. I mean, Tom Brady does the same thing because they're all great. The thing about this top 5 list, this is one is indefinitely better than number 2 and vice versa. This is the best QBs of all time. There's arguments to be made that Tom Brady is 1, Peyton Manning's 2. I'm just saying this is just how I view it in my opinion. It's not like Peyton Manning is incredibly worse. Peyton Manning didn't have Ty Law. He didn't have Bruce, whatever his name is, Bruschi. Shoot, I forget
Teddy
his
Bruschi.
name.
Whatever his
Yeah.
name is. Wait,
Yeah.
whoa. That was my dude back in the day.
Eric.
Teddy Bruschi, man.
Mr. Stroke himself.
Yeah, that's true. He never came back after those, but he was incredible before that.
It's just I'm just saying, like, this is something you have to like ask yourself. Like, I get it. Like, I think that Peyton Manning was a better passer than Tom Brady. I think that's just my opinion though, and I have there's stats to prove it and what not. I'm just again, if it's 2 minutes, I need someone to give me a touchdown. All things being equal, I'm picking Peyton Manning. It's not wrong to say Tom Brady is better than Peyton Manning, but that's just my opinion.
All
You're
right.
trying so hard to couch this, but okay.
What does that even mean?
All right,
Couch.
all right.
What
Find
does that even
common
mean?
ground.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay to say that you would want to pick Tom Brady over Peyton Manning and vice versa. It's okay to say
But
that.
you keep saying that you if you want somebody in the 2-minute drill to score you a touchdown, you say you'd rather have Peyton Manning, but I could probably go back and find way more Tom Brady 2-minute drive wins than Peyton Manning has. And I'm not saying that that's solid, but Tom
You
Brady
could
has
also
just
find
been-
that Tom Brady had better teams around him than Peyton Manning to do that with, better situations.
Peyton
Again,
Manning had one of the best defenses in the league for like 2 years in a row, and he won 1 Super Bowl with it. When has Tom Brady ever had a great defense other than when he was in Tampa Bay?
He's had great
Let's not get too carried
No,
away here.
you
He
don't-
did have a.
he had a phenomenal defenses in New England.
There were years
Phenomenal.
though where they were turning the roster over where he had some mediocre teams. 2011 comes to mind, and he still got to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He still ended up short, but who was he throwing to in 2011? And honestly, those early Super Bowls, aside from Corey Dillon on their offensive side, Deion Branch, good player, but not a Hall of Famer. Troy Brown, good player, not a Hall of Famer. I can't even. Aaron, you might remember some of the names better than I do. Can you name some of those starters that he was throwing to in 01 and 03 before they got Corey
David
Dillon?
Patton.
David Patton. Okay, there. Was Terry Glenn still on the team? Like,
No, he was gone.
I think
by
so.
the
I think
time
you're
Brady
right.
Came on, but yeah, it
I
was
think you're
David
right.
Patton, Troy Brown were the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2.
I mean, those
you wanna,
guys.
You want to have a quick stat here, Tyler?
We gotta wrap this up. But go
We
ahead.
gotta
Hey,
go.
Here, finishing it off. Tom Brady, how many game-winning drives has he had?
I don't know. You have the stats in front of you. Tell me.
I do. 48. You know how many Peyton Manning has? 54. There you go.
Great. How many of those are in the playoffs? Because if
Doesn't-
I remember correctly, there wasn't a whole lot of winning
It's not
drives
hard to
in
get to the
for
playoffs when
Peyton.
you're in the same division as the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills.
Right,
there.
because the NFC, what was it, the AFC, was that the North that he was in? No, is it the
AFC South.
South?
I'm not-
That was a super competitive division too. Yeah.
Also had Bill Belichick. I'm not like, listen,
All right. We got to end it. That's plenty that is plenty. If honestly, if you're one of our listeners and you're still listening to this, kudos to you, because we have been talking about this for 1 hour and 42 minutes.
Yeah, we gotta
Aaron,
call.
go ahead and give us our plug.
Well, hopefully you still want to listen after this long episode.
I'm
but
not a regular part of the show, so it's okay.
Well, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube at Under.500 Podcast. Please follow, give us a subscribe, tell people about who we are. And we also have an email at under500podcast@gmail.com. DM us on our social media accounts. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. If you want to find and see some of the posts that we put on Facebook and Instagram, that's the place we do it. So just keep interacting with us. We got to go to bed, guys. It's late.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
See you, everybody.
See you, Carlos. See you, Eric. See you, Tyler.
Later.
See ya.